All right, let's jump right in. I want to ask you something. Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, your prayers are a little too safe? Today we're going to dive into something really powerful, maybe even a little unsettling. We're talking about dangerous prayers.
You know how it is. We pray for good things, right? Things like health for our family, safety when we're driving, maybe just some comfort when times get tough. And those are all good things to pray for. But is that it? Is there a chance we're playing it just a little too safe with what we ask for? So, what exactly do I mean by a dangerous prayer? Well, think of it like this. It's a bold request. It's the kind of prayer that if God actually says yes, it's going to mean huge changes in your life. It's going to require a real sacrifice, and the results, well, there's no going back. Now, this isn't about being reckless or foolish, not at all. It's about having the courage to ask for something that will completely turn your world upside down, all for a godly purpose. Okay, to really get a handle on this, let's look at three incredible stories from the past. We're talking about people who prayed these exact kinds of prayers. And let me tell you, it didn't just change their lives, it literally changed the course of history. So, let's start with a woman named Hannah. Now, you have to understand, in her culture, not being able to have children was a source of just deep, deep shame and grief. And she was tormented for it year after year. She was absolutely desperate, completely heartbroken. She was at her breaking point. And in that anguish, she makes this unbelievable vow. We see it in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11. She prays, "O Lord of hosts, if you will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life." Did you catch that? She's not just asking for a child to end her own pain. She's promising to give the one thing she wants more than anything in the world, right back to God. So what happened? Well, God answered her. The prophet Samuel was born. But Hannah had to make good on that dangerous promise. Can you imagine? After he was old enough, she took her little boy, her only son, and left him at the temple to serve God for the rest of his life. That prayer brought her this incredible joy, but it also came with a profound personal heartbreak. And that one act, that one prayer, ended up shaping an entire nation. All right, next up, a young King Solomon. Picture this. He's just become king. He's got this massive, overwhelming job of leading an entire nation. And then God shows up. And as we read in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 5, God basically hands him a blank check. He says, "Ask what I shall give you." I mean, stop and think about that for a second. What would you ask for? Riches? Long life? Power over your enemies? Solomon asks for something completely different. In 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 9, he prays this, "Give your servant therefore an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil." Wow, he chose responsibility over reward. And the result was just astounding. God didn't just make him the wisest man who ever lived. He also threw in all the riches and honor that Solomon didn't ask for. So you might be thinking, okay, where's the danger in that? Sounds like a pretty sweet deal. But the danger was in the burden of that wisdom. Think about the crushing weight of leadership, of having to make these incredibly difficult decisions, of judging an entire nation fairly. That's a heavy, heavy crown to wear. Okay, for our last case study, let's turn to the prophet Isaiah. In Isaiah chapter 6, he has this vision, and it's intense. He sees God in all of his holiness, and it just completely wrecks him. He's overwhelmed by his own sinfulness, feeling totally unworthy to even be there. So after this symbolic act of cleansing, Isaiah hears God ask a question to the heavens, "Whom shall I send?" And Isaiah's response from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8, it's so simple, but so incredibly dangerous. He just says, "Here am I, send me." That's it. He volunteers without knowing the mission, without knowing the cost, without knowing the outcome. It's him handing over a total blank check for the rest of his life. And let me tell you, the risk was huge. His assignment, it wasn't fame, it wasn't success. It was a brutal 40-year ministry preaching God's truth to people who, for the most part, just wouldn't listen. The danger of that simple prayer was the total surrender of his entire life to a thankless but absolutely crucial calling. Okay, so we've got these three powerful stories, Hannah, Solomon, Isaiah. Now, let's kind of pull back and analyze this. What do these prayers all have in common? What's the anatomy of a dangerous prayer? It seems like there are four things that really stand out. First, they always require sacrifice. Hannah gave up her son.
Solomon gave up personal gain for the good of his people. Second, you can't take them back. Once God answers, that's it. It's a done deal. Third, they require total, absolute trust. You have to jump in with both feet, believing God will see you through whatever comes next. And finally, number 4, they change everything. Your life is never, ever the same. You see, these aren't just little details. This is the stuff that forges a faith that's deep and real and resilient. And this leads us to something that is absolutely crucial to understand. These prayers, they are not selfish. Not at all. Hannah, Solomon, Isaiah, none of them were trying to just get something for themselves. Their deepest motivation was to serve a godly purpose. And that is the key difference. A dangerous prayer isn't about bending God's will to get what we want. It's about asking to be a part of what He is already doing in the world. And honestly, that's a much bigger, much better adventure anyway.
Okay, these stories from thousands of years ago are fascinating, for sure. But what does any of this have to do with us right here, right now? Let's bring this whole idea home.
Praying this way really requires a total shift in our mindset. Look at the difference here. Safe prayers, they tend to focus on my comfort, my plans, my control. But dangerous prayers, they're all about a godly purpose, His will, and my surrender. It's a complete flip. It's about changing our whole orientation of who's really in the driver's seat. So what does a dangerous prayer even sound like in the 21st century? Well, it might be something like, God, I'll go wherever you want me to go. Or maybe, Lord, give me real boldness to share my faith. Or maybe this one, which might be the hardest of all, Father, break my heart for the things that break yours. And I have to warn you, these are not prayers to be taken lightly. If God answers yes, it's gonna cost you something.
And really, all of this, it all points to the ultimate dangerous prayer, the one that Jesus Himself prayed. We read it in Luke chapter 22, verse 42, "Not my will, but yours be done." That simple prayer led directly to the cross, but it also led to the resurrection and to salvation for the entire world. It is the perfect model of what it means to truly surrender.
So as we finish up here, just remember this. Dangerous prayers can and often do cost you everything, but they also have the power to change everything. Which really just leaves one last very personal question for you to think about. What dangerous prayer is waiting for you?